Hello Stampers, this is Diane from dianescards.com. Today I'm going to show you how to make a very cute little notebook, or just a little journal if you like, for keeping for yourself, or you could make them for some neighbors and friends. They're pretty easy to make, and one of the things I like is it uses up some scraps from the Candy Cane Lane Designer Series paper. So the first thing you're going to do is take some of this crumb cake, or whichever color you want. You could use the red or any of the colors in there, or you could decide that you want to use other paper. So we're going to cut the cardstock down to 3 1/4 by 10 1/2, and the paper's 11, so I'm just going to cut off a 1/2 inch here. And the reason that I do that is that the paper that I'm using, you can get these notepads in Staples, or I'm sure any other kind of stationery store like that. And I took about a third, this actually might be a little bit more, about a third of the stack, and that paper is 3 inches by 5 inches. So I'm actually going to score this at 5 1/4 because that will be just halfway through. So I always like to keep my scoring tab labeled. So next thing you're going to do is to just staple the paper in here, and you're going to not quite butt it up to the edge like that, and then fold it to make sure it's going to be okay. And you have to have a heavy-duty stapler for that, so when you do, it ends up looking like this. Now the temptation is to say, oh, this is the front. I actually like to use this as the front because I'm going to take my Designer Series paper and cover that staple where it might, to tell you the truth, I usually take a hammer and hammer that down. So I'm going to put this designer piece of paper, which is 2 3/4 by 4 3/4. I will double check those measurements, but I'm relatively sure that that's what it is. So that just goes on here. I'm going to take a scrap of Whisper White and use the Gingerbread Man from a set whose name I cannot think of right now, and ink it up really well. And I like to use a piercing mat under my paper when I use the photopolymers. Because there's no foam, you've got the rubber but no foam layer on there. It works nicely if you have foam on here. So we want to do it close to an edge. Turned out pretty well. And then I'm going to use real red and a sentiment that says, "'Tis the season." And I'll stamp that over here. And again, because it's photopolymer, I'm stamping on a mat. Let's get these closed up before there's something tragic happening. And I'm going to use the 1 1/4 circle punch to punch this out. And use the cookie cutter punch for this. I like to do it sort of near the edge on the bottom and on the sides so they don't waste a whole lot. And it does generate a lot of trash. You probably got hit with some of that trash. So we're done stamping. And this is 1 1/2 inch circle, and I'm just going to adhere this. And I would put dimensionals on something like this, but because I'm probably going to put it in my handbag, or whoever I give it to might want to do that, I don't want to do that because it could just get caught on things and come apart. And then we're going to punch a 2 inch circle from the Real Red cardstock. And the Gingerbread Man will get adhered to that. And we want to use this and punch out a little bow for him. Use a glue dot for that. Always take your item to the glue dot. Don't try to take that glue dot off. So his little bow is going to go there. Alrighty. Now, the other thing is that little ribbon on the end, and I just took the 2 spools that came in the set of twine that goes with the Candy Cane Lane designer paper, and just run it around the front cover. Give yourself a lot of room there. Oh, that might be even more than I need. If you're not confident about tying bows, you want to give yourself extra. There we go. I knew I had scissors right here. All right, so that's that. And sentiment over here. And the gingerbread man here. And we're done. Now you can imagine that you could use any paper and any sentiment and whatever. It's just this idea of taking some of that note paper, making it into a little booklet, wrap this around for interest. The last little embellishment here, and you know, maybe I'm going against what I just said, but I am going to put a little rhinestone on here and hope that it doesn't get caught on anything. Just gives it a little jazz. So thanks very much for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll watch some of my other videos on Diane'sCards.com at YouTube. Thanks so much.